Boom. Playing that song, Fake News. Welcome, everybody. You're listening to Hakeem Alexander. This is my track called Fake News. And say that fast, right? Fake News. I'm going to be talking about buried at home hacking and lessons from food. I'm also doing a Facebook Live. Let me turn down this music and get this podcast rocking here. This podcast and this Facebook Live. So, a couple things I'm going to do is after the Facebook Live is done, I'm going to take this video and download it. Then I'm going to download the podcast audio, and I'm going to see if they can sync. Because in the podcast, it has music. And then I can upload the video with the music without having to do any extra editing up to YouTube. And have a completely different version of the podcast that's special for YouTube. So there's going to be a podcast, the audio and the video. And so there's one podcast on my Spreaker podcast. It'll just be the audio with the music. Then there'll be one from YouTube Live that does not have the music but has me talking about all this stuff about what I'm going to do. And then there will be the video on YouTube that has the video of the podcast, the Facebook Live, and with the music and audio from the podcast. So that should be interesting. So that's one way of hacking technology right there. Some people might not call that hacking, but that's I'm using a lot of technology in ways that it was never intended to be. And I've been doing that for a long time with a lot of tech. But anyway, here's some interesting stuff. This is just kind of funny to me, why I said buried at home. So in 2016, when I first came to China, and I was here for 4 months in another city called Juji, I bought my best friend Christine had bought me a guitar from Guitar Center in California, and I never really paid attention to it before. But anyway, I got to China, and looking inside the guitar, it said made in China. So I was like, hey baby, you're back home. And then when I was in Fort Lauderdale in 2017 and 2018, and in Miami with Floor, we used to hang out at Barnes & Nobles a lot, because that's like one of my favorite places ever to be, is the bookstores. And there's no more Borders, so Barnes & Nobles is the one, and they're still like huge, and they're doing all kinds of innovative stuff to keep people coming and keeping their doors open. And we bought some coffee mugs, some stainless steel coffee mugs. And when I got out here, I noticed again that the mugs, they were made in China. I should have actually kept it, but I threw it in the trash today, because when I'm getting ready to do some work, it fell off of a table, and the top broke off, and there were little tiny plastic pieces that were fasteners from it that were broken. The seal was broken, so it was dead. But it was made in China, so I buried it by throwing it in the fucking trash at this office that I was at. So that sucks. My guitar is still going strong, and I believe even if the guitar would get busted, I would still take its dead body back to the United States to bury it there. I don't know, or try to get it repaired. Anyway, so that's buried at home, because the mug was made in China, exported from here to the United States. I bought it in the United States, and then brought it to China with me, because it was such a good mug. I've had it for, like over 2 years now, and I dropped it off of a desk today and broke it. It was heavy because it was full of coffee, so it hit the ground, and that's it. Okay, so in hacking, I talked a little bit about hacking, about how I'm going to take this Facebook Live video and turn it into a YouTube video with the audio from my Spreaker podcast, which in some places you can get to at gurugrandmaster.com. And then lessons from food. Okay, so here is something called, in China it's called baozi. It's a dumpling, a bread dumpling. It's made out of a white flour bread, plain, probably like a very simple carb. I don't get high from them. They don't make me feel all sugar high. And then they're filled with different things. Some of them have meat, and this one is cai baozi. They're called baozi. So this cai baozi is a vegetarian one. Yeah, 4. Taste this. This one is mixed. I think you might like that. And anyway, so there's this place. I go to this coffee shop called Wing Life Coffee all the time to sit and use their Wi-Fi and work. And right across the street from there is where I get those, the Bautza. And every single time, the couple that works there is this really nice, older couple that runs the shop. And then it's like a mother and a son are usually there. And sometimes the son's wife is there. Anyway, whenever I buy the Bautza, they put them in the microwave for me. And I get it. I'm always extremely dissatisfied because when I get it, it's like burning fucking hot. Like so hot. Like you can't even handle it. And the insides are so hot. And it's like you can do some real damage with this Bautza after they literally, that's really what it means to nuke something. I mean, they just keep it in there for so long, and I'm like, well, I'm sitting there waiting, like I've already paid for it and everything like that. I'm like, why is it taking so long? I've never said anything before, but every time I would get it, the other problem is that it would be all sticky and pasty on the outside. So when you would touch it, and like the little plastic bag they would put it in sometimes, like it would stick, like it would just rip off the outside, would like stick to the plastic bag, and let me adjust this right. So it would like stick to the plastic bag and like stick to your hands, and it would be like, it was just disgusting. And like I was wondering why I would go back to eat them. I think it was just because the filling inside, it's like all these greens. I don't even know what vegetables that is, but it's this lightly seasoned dark green vegetable. A lot like collard greens, but not. A lot like it. I'm going to find out what it is. But it's really delicious. And so I keep going back for it. But then, so and this is where the lessons from food is coming in. And this is really great. But I just one day, like a couple days ago, actually last week, started going in, and when they would start going towards the microwave, I was like, Bujarura, I don't want you to add heat. Don't heat it up. And I would just take them, and I would take them upstairs. There's an office that has a microwave, and I would do it myself, or put it in a toaster oven, or put it in the microwave at the coffee shop. And I would do it for like 30 seconds to a minute, sometimes 2 minutes max, whereas they were doing it for like 5 to 7 minutes. It was crazy. And it comes out perfect. I could touch the outside. It's hot to the touch. It's hot. The insides are not scorching to burn your freaking skin off. Like you could, like if you were a criminal and you wanted to burn your fingerprints off, you could have them heat some Bautza up for you and handle that, and your fucking whole hands would just burn off. Perfect. And the other thing was that they were microwaving it so much that the greens inside were starting to turn like darker green and brown. It would be so soggy and disgusting. Anyway, it's nothing against the couple. I don't know. That's why they do it. A lot of people do that. But the way I do it, it still stays, the bread on the outside stays, it's soft, but it's not soggy, It's still firm and it's delicious, and the bread is kind of, moist, but not too wet inside. Anyway, it's delicious. So the lessons from the food is this, that we do a lot of things like that in life. Like, we don't question a lot of stuff, and we just let people like provide certain services or handle certain things for us that we can do on our own, and sometimes we'll do it a lot better if we just give it a shot, if we just try. And something, I've been doing this a lot lately, like I dedicated a couple years ago, I wanted to figure out how I could run a business 100% if needed to be from a mobile device like the Samsung Galaxy, and like a tablet, but without necessarily having to have a laptop, which is like most of the time run it from the mobile device, use a tablet for a little bit extra functions, a laptop because it has extra features and a little bit more computing power, and then when I can get to a desktop PC to be able to do some more advanced things, because I like to move around a lot and don't like to travel heavy, and so having a laptop or even a desktop is kind of impossible. The laptop anyway, the laptop I had, I would probably be using that, but as soon as I got to China, something happened, it burned out, and I never took it to get it repaired. So it forced me to figure out, how can I do these things? How can I run the business through just the mobile devices? And so one thing that's happened is that I've had to force myself to figure out how to do it, and starting to use different video editing and podcasting software that are just on a mobile phone device that's usually used to make calls and stuff like that. And it's interesting because it has a low amount of computing power. It's got a lot of problems. It's very clunky. There's not a whole lot of apps that are built for that just yet. Some of them are, and I don't know if it's because I'm using free versions of some stuff, but I'm getting it done. And the point is that it's because I'm attempting. I'm doing it myself instead of waiting for somebody else to do it for me, or for somebody else to release something that's perfect for me. I feel like often that I've been way ahead of technology, and technology is now catching up with the way that I want to do things. For years, I mean, I was on the internet as soon as the internet was available for public consumption. I was with the dial-up. I was in chat rooms. I was building and coding free websites and putting up poems and just all this look at me stuff that I was doing. And I love the technology, but I also love kind of hacking and patching in like a lot of old tech with new technology. Like even when standalone recorders came out, standalone multi-track recorders came out for recording music, there were also completely PC and other devices that you could completely do on your home computer, or a dedicated computer, in the same way like the Avid or Final Cut Pro was, like Pro Tools and things like that. But I like to use these little 8-track standalone recorders that had like an LCD screen, because years ago, and I'm going off on a tangent, but I just recently worked with a guy who had this software called Ableton Live, and he's got a MIDI controller keyboard and all this software with Ableton and all this whole setup. And I had the exact same functions and features and was able to do the exact same stuff on a Casio CTK 731 keyboard that I still have in the United States, and it still works. The battery's still operational and everything like that. That has a 6-track onboard recorder and a backlit blue LCD screen. And I was able to do the same exact things on that they're doing on the Ableton Live now. Like being able to record your own bass lines and make your own drum beats by finger tapping. And I used to get on there and just I even did it not too long ago with Donald Dias. We recorded like 200 songs in 8 days, and a bunch of the songs that have some drums on it, I did that. It's crazy with the same keyboard. Anyway, but again, the lessons from the food is the really important thing here that I want to stick with and end this broadcast with, is that we tend to get upset and mad about things that are not going right in our lives, and we kind of put up with it because we don't think that we have an option, or are not really looking at it because it's like out of convenience, or it's just the way that it's been done. And so in the same way that I started microwaving my own bautza for 1.5 minutes rather than like 10 minutes and it coming out just right, it's the same thing that we need to start doing with a lot of stuff in our lives, is that we need to actually just go ahead and take the step to start testing and figuring out stuff on our own, the way that we eat, the way that we exercise, instead of following everybody else's programs. And that's been so helpful for me, even making music and making my own videos, and I'm doing it in my own way rather than a way that somebody else is saying. Like there's a lot of people that I follow and advice that I follow to like get it done and motivation, things like that. But as far as the details and the nuts and bolts and nitty gritty and actual tactics, I figured out myself to deal with my own personality and everything like that. So that's something that I learned from the food. I was just thinking about it a lot today. Like, man, it's so much more delicious, and I'm getting so much more out of it because I'm just cooking it or reheating it myself. Because they come in a way that you're supposed to heat them up in like a toaster or a microwave. So, all right, well, that's it. It's Hakeem Alexander. I'm here on my podcast, and I'll leave you with the end of this song called Platinum Attractor. Enjoy.